Welcome back, fellow seekers of the shadows. You've tuned into Stories of Crime, the place where the veil between the mundane and the monstrous is brutally ripped away. Tonight, we aren't just reading a report. We are opening a file, marked top priority, tucked away in the darkest corner of the archives. We're going to step across that chalk line and peer into the void, where human nature meets its most terrifying extremes. In this hour, the street lights flicker, the shadows deepen, and the truth is often far more chilling than any fiction you could invent. Forget the heroes. Tonight, we focus on the villains. On the motives that curdle the blood, and the consequences that echo forever. So, dim the lights. Lock your doors. Take a deep, steadying breath, because once the story begins, there's no turning back. This is Stories of Crime. And the case we're unfolding tonight is The Return of Sherlock Holmes. Look, the king of detectives returns. Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome back to the quiet corners of my mind, where the most compelling stories find their voice. Tonight, or whatever time of day you find yourself with me, we're not just opening a book, we're opening a portal. A portal back to a specific moment in literary history that sent shockwaves through the hearts and minds of millions. A moment of collective gasp, a bewildered murmur that rippled across continents, from the drawing rooms of London to the bustling streets of New York. We're going to talk about a return, an astonishing, mind-bending resurrection that defied logic and shattered expectations. We're talking about the time when the seemingly impossible, the utterly inconceivable, became a breathtaking reality. We're talking about the return of a legend, a shadow emerging from the abyss, to reclaim his throne. But before we dive into the sheer brilliance of it all, let's set the scene, shall we? Close your eyes for a moment, if you can, and just listen. Can you hear it? That insistent, drumming rain, washing away the grime of London, but never quite extinguishing the city's restless spirit. Feel the chill in the air, seeping through the cracks, a damp, pervasive cold that hints at something more than just the English weather. It's the cold of absence. The cold of an echo where once there was a vibrant, crackling presence. Now, picture it with me. Number 221B Baker Street. A familiar address, etched into the very fabric of our literary consciousness. But tonight, it's different. Terribly, heartbreakingly different. The gaslight flickers mournfully outside, casting long, dancing shadows on the drawn curtains. Inside, silence reigns. A silence that isn't peaceful, but heavy, weighted with memory, thick with the ghosts of deductive brilliance and violin solos played into the small hours. The armchairs, once so inviting, now sit empty, slumped almost, as if mourning their missing occupants. The Persian slipper, where a certain tobacco reposed, is now just a slipper. The chemical stains on the mantelpiece, once evidence of restless experimentation, now merely telltale marks of a life abruptly, tragically, ended. The air, usually humming with intellectual energy, now feels hollow, cavernous. You can almost smell the faint scent of pipe tobacco, of carbolic acid, of the lingering aroma of the exotic and the dangerous. But these are just phantom scents, conjured by memory, because the man who animated this space, who filled it with his singular genius, is gone. Vanished. Plunged into the depths of the Reichenbach Falls, locked in a death grip with his arch-nemesis, Professor James Moriarty. The Napoleon of crime. And in that fatal plunge, it was believed, the king of detectives, Sherlock Holmes himself, met his tragic, heroic end. Imagine, if you will, the world's reaction. The outpouring of grief, the disbelief. Conan Doyle, the creator, had tried to move on, to sever ties with the character that had so consumed his life, much to the chagrin of his devoted readership. He wanted to write historical novels, to explore other avenues of his literary prowess. But the public wouldn't let him. They mourned Holmes as if he were a real person, a beloved friend, a guiding light. Black armbands were worn in the streets of London. People wrote letters of protest, of heartbreak, to the Strand magazine. It was an unprecedented display of collective sorrow for a fictional character. Holmes wasn't just a character, he was an institution, a symbol of order in a chaotic world, a beacon of reason in the face of the inexplicable. So, for 3 long, silent, unimaginable years, 221B Baker Street remained an empty shrine. A monument to a brilliance extinguished too soon. The gas light outside continued to cast its lonely glow, the London fog continued to creep in, and the rain continued to fall. But the spark, the fire, the sheer, unadulterated intellectual force that was Sherlock Holmes, was gone. Or so everyone believed. And this, my friends, brings us to the most tantalizing question of all. The question that Lee. Intro and narrator POV, the what's in perspective. Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome to a journey back in time, back to the gaslit labyrinth of Victorian London. I'm your guide, your fellow enthusiast, and perhaps, your slightly anachronistic companion as we delve into one of the most thrilling resurrections in literary history, the return of Sherlock Holmes. You know, there's a peculiar magic in these old stories, isn't there? It's not just the intricate plots or the ingenious deductions. It's the way they transport us, offering a window into a world both familiar and utterly alien. As a modern admirer, someone who spends far too much time pondering the minutiae of a fictional 19th century detective, I find myself in a unique position. I'm not merely recounting tales, I'm analyzing them, sifting through the layers of fog and convention, trying to understand the pulse of a city and the mind of a genius through the lens of a new millennium. My fascination isn't just with the what but the why, and the how it all still resonates with us today. I approach this not as a mere reader, but as someone trying to inhabit the spirit of the era, to feel the damp chill of the London air, to hear the clatter of hansom cabs, and to smell the coal smoke mingling with the brewing tea. It's an immersive experience, and I invite you to join me in truly feeling it. For those of us familiar with the Sherlockian canon, the period we're about to explore holds a special, almost sacred, significance. It's the period following what's famously, or perhaps infamously, known as the Great Hiatus. Imagine, if you will, a world suddenly bereft of its brightest, most formidable mind. For 3 long years, from 1891 to 1894, the streets of London were, in a very specific sense, darker. Not just physically, though the fogs and short winter days certainly played their part, but metaphorically. A void had been left. A vacuum. Think of London as a grand, intricate clockwork mechanism, and Sherlock Holmes as the master watchmaker, constantly tinkering, adjusting, and, most importantly, preventing its gears from seizing up. When he vanished over the Reichenbach Falls with Professor Moriarty, presumed dead, that master hand was gone. The immediate grief, of course, belonged to Dr. John Watson, whose heartfelt, almost elegiac recounting of Holmes's demise in The Final Problem left readers stunned and heartbroken. But beyond Watson's personal sorrow, there was a wider, more subtle tremor throughout the criminal underworld, and indeed, within the very fabric of society. It's an intriguing thought, isn't it? What happens when the relentless pursuer of justice, the bane of masterminds and petty thieves alike, simply ceases to be? For 3 years, the forces of criminality, both grand and petty, were allowed to fester, unchecked by the sharpest intellect of their time. The vacuum wasn't filled by another brilliant detective. No one could truly step into Holmes's shoes. Instead, it was a period of unbridled opportunity for the villainous. Lesser lights, perhaps emboldened by the absence of their greatest threat, might have grown bolder. The intricate webs of criminal enterprise that Holmes so adeptly untangled would have had time to grow, to strengthen, to intertwine without fear of his meticulous scrutiny. It was a time when the shadows could deepen, when unsolved mysteries piled up, gathering dust like forgotten manuscripts. Scotland Yard, for all its earnest efforts and the dedication of men like Lestrade, simply lacked that singular spark of genius, that almost supernatural ability to see what others missed. The city undoubtedly felt it, even if unconsciously, a subtle increase in audacity, a lingering sense of unease that couldn't quite be pinpointed, a feeling that justice itself had lost its most potent advocate. The great game was still being played, but the ultimate umpire had stepped away, leaving the field open for foul play. And that's precisely where we find ourselves as we embark on this particular audio journey. Our mission, should you choose to accept it, is to explore the immediate aftermath. Chapter 1: The Empty House and the Resurrection. Hello, my fellow adventurers and armchair detectives. Welcome back to the channel. Today, We're not just opening a book, we're stepping through a portal. A portal back to Baker Street, back to the fog-drenched streets of London, and most importantly, back to a friendship that defies death itself. We're diving headfirst into the return of Sherlock Holmes, and what a return it is. For years, after that fateful confrontation at Reichenbach Falls, the world, and most tragically, Dr. John H. Watson, believed that Sherlock Holmes was gone. Vanished. Plunged into the swirling abyss with his arch-nemesis, Professor Moriarty. Think about that for a moment. Imagine the weight of that loss. Watson, a man who had faced down assassins, delved into the darkest corners of human depravity, and stood shoulder to shoulder with the greatest mind of his generation, was left utterly heartbroken. He chronicled the final moments in The Final Problem, a testament to his loyalty and grief, and then, silence. A silence that echoed through the hallowed halls of 221B Baker Street, through the foggy London alleys, and most profoundly, within Watson's own soul. Life, as it always does, went on. Watson remarried, resumed his medical practice, and tried to build a new existence. But you know, when you've experienced the extraordinary, the mundane can feel, well, empty. No matter how much he loved his new life, a part of him remained forever etched with the memory of those thrilling chases, those brilliant deductions, and the unparalleled companionship of Sherlock Holmes. The world felt a shade duller, a puzzle missing its most intricate piece. And then, years later, a new mystery began to brew, a case so baffling, so perplexing, that it seemed almost designed to tempt fate. It was the murder of the Honorable Ronald Adair. Now, on the surface, this wasn't a case that immediately screamed Sherlock Holmes territory. Adair was a young gentleman, a man of society, found dead in his study. The room was locked from the inside. The window was shut. No weapon was found. It was, in essence, a classic locked room mystery, the kind that would tie Scotland Yard in knots, and indeed, it did. Inspector Lestrade, bless his earnest heart, was utterly stumped. The police were grasping at straws, looking for answers in all the usual places, while the true solution lay hidden in plain sight, just waiting for a certain pair of eyes to see it. Watson, perhaps out of habit, or perhaps driven by that nagging sense of injustice that Holmes had always instilled in him, found himself drawn to the Adair case. He even went to the scene, observed the house, and contemplated the impossibility of it all. Can you imagine him, standing there, a ghost of his former self, observing the very kind of enigma that would have sparked a fire in Holmes's eyes? It was a poignant scene, filled with that unspoken longing, that ache for the good old days. And then, it happened. The moment that, for any Sherlockian, sends shivers down the spine and tears to the eyes. Watson, lost in his thoughts, was confronted by an elderly, stoop-shouldered book collector, a man with thick spectacles and a peculiar, almost theatrical way of speaking. This man, rambling about obscure bibliography, began to argue with Watson about a specific book, pushing the good doctor's buttons with an almost uncanny precision. Watson, annoyed but polite, turned to confront the old man more directly, and then, everything changed. The spectacles came off. The stoop straightened. The lines on the face seemed to melt away, revealing a sharper, more familiar contour. The voice, no longer reedy and frail, deepened, resonating with a familiar cadence that Watson had thought he would never hear again. "My dear Watson," the voice said, "can you even begin to comprehend the shock? The sheer, unadulterated, mind-bending disbelief that must have coursed through Watson's veins? It wasn't just recognition, it was a resurrection. A ghost, a legend, a memory, standing before him, alive, vibrant, and undoubtedly, still Sherlock Holmes." W.A. Chapter 2, The Norwood Builder and the Art of Forensics. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been following along, you know we're diving deep into the Return of Sherlock Holmes, a collection that truly marks a new era for our favorite consulting detective. Last time, we talked about Holmes's incredible re-emergence, a moment that sent chills down many a reader's spine, myself included. Today, we're moving on to a case that, for me, really cemented the brilliance of Conan Doyle's storytelling in this new phase, and it's a masterclass in early forensic science, or rather, the art of outsmarting it. We're talking about the Norwood Builder. Now, this story drops us right into the thick of it, not long after Holmes's return, and it presents a seemingly open and shut case. Imagine this: a promising young lawyer named John Hector McFarlane is accused of murdering a wealthy builder named Jonas Oldaker. The evidence? Oh, it's practically shouting guilt from the rooftops. Let's set the scene: the Norwood estate, a grand old house that has just burned down in a rather suspicious fire. Amidst the ashes, investigators find what they believe to be Oldaker's charred remains. And right there, on a wall beside the body, is a bloody thumbprint. A very distinct, very clear bloody thumbprint. And guess whose thumbprint it is? John Hector McFarlane's. Now, for any police force, especially in the early 20th century, this was dynamite. Fingerprints were just beginning to be understood and accepted as irrefutable evidence. A bloody thumbprint at the scene of a supposed murder, belonging to the prime suspect? Case closed, right? McFarlane had even visited Oldaker the night before, received a strange request to draw up a will leaving everything to him, and then woke up to find himself accused of murder. It all looked incredibly damning. But here's where the art of forensics truly begins, not in the collection of the print, but in its interpretation. From the moment Holmes hears about that thumbprint, a little alarm bell starts ringing in his extraordinary mind. He's skeptical. He looks at Watson, probably with that familiar twinkle in his eye, and says something along the lines of, Too simple, Watson, too simple. What makes him doubt such concrete evidence? Well, it's the very perfection of it. Why would a murderer, especially a lawyer, leave such an obvious, perfectly placed, identifiable piece of evidence right next to the victim? It seemed too convenient, too theatrical. It felt like a trap. And that's the core of Holmes's genius, isn't it? While others are blinded by the irrefutable evidence, he's looking for the narrative behind it, the human element. He understands that evidence can be manipulated, planted, or designed to mislead. And in this case, it screamed manipulation. This leads us right into the fascinating theme of malicious revenge and, crucially, faking one's death. Jonas Oldecker, as Holmes quickly deduces, is not just a victim, he's a villain in his own right. Holmes investigates Oldacre's past and finds a pattern of callous behavior, especially towards women. Oldecker was a man who enjoyed inflicting misery, a man capable of truly malicious intent. The whole elaborate setup, the mysterious will, the fire, the body, and most importantly, the strategically placed thumbprint, it all pointed to Oldecker being alive and orchestrating this elaborate frame-up. But why? Why go to such extreme lengths to fake his own death and frame an innocent young lawyer? This is where the story truly reveals the dark underbelly of human nature. Oldecker harbored a deep-seated resentment against McFarlane's family, stemming from an old perceived slight involving McFarlane's mother. It was a twisted form of revenge, meticulously planned, and executed with chilling precision. He wasn't just faking his death to escape, but to inflict maximum damage on someone he resented. He enjoyed the game, the psychological torment. And honestly, it makes you wonder about the depths of human cruelty, doesn't it? How far some people will go just to settle a score, real or imagined. So, Holmes. Chapter 3, The Dancing Men and the Code Breaker. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deeper into the thrilling world of The Return of Sherlock Holmes, and we're about to explore a chapter that, for me, stands out as one of the most compelling and, indeed, one of the most heartbreaking. It's a case wrapped in riddles, steeped in a growing sense of dread, and culminates in a tragedy that leaves even the great detective himself with a rare and profound sense of regret. We're talking, of course, about The Dancing Men. Now, doesn't that title just conjure up images of something whimsical, perhaps a little light-hearted? But don't let the seemingly innocent facade fool you. This story, while featuring one of Holmes's most brilliant feats of pure deduction, delves into the darker corners of human experience, secrets, obsession, and the brutal collision of past and present. It's a case of cryptography, domestic tension, American gangsters, and a tragic ending that, in my opinion, truly solidifies its place as one of Holmes's most famous and emotionally resonant investigations. So, settle in, because we're about to unravel the mystery of the dancing men and witness the devastating consequences when even Sherlock Holmes can't quite outrun fate. Point 1. The stick figure ciphers and Holmes's frequency analysis. The story begins, as many do, with an ordinary man facing an extraordinary problem. Our client, Mr. Hilton Cubitt of Ridlingthorpe Manor in Norfolk, presents Holmes and Watson with a series of peculiar drawings. Imagine this: crude, stick figure caricatures, each with a different posture, some holding flags, scrawled on pieces of paper. They look almost childish, like something a schoolboy might doodle. But for Mr. Cubitt, they are a source of immense distress, appearing seemingly out of nowhere, popping up on window sills, chalked on garden sheds, or found tucked into his wife's belongings. Mr. Cubitt, a sensible, down-to-earth gentleman, is utterly bewildered. His beautiful American wife, Elsie, becomes visibly terrified, almost fainting, whenever these drawings appear. She offers no explanation, only desperate pleas for him to ignore them, to promise he won't inquire further into her past. But how can a man ignore something that is clearly terrorizing his beloved wife? And here's where the magic, or rather, the pure intellectual brilliance of Sherlock Holmes, truly shines. Holmes, ever the connoisseur of codes and ciphers, is immediately captivated. He dismisses the initial thought that they might be mere harmless jottings. No, he sees patterns, a language in disguise. His initial hypothesis? A substitution cipher. This means each unique stick figure represents a specific letter of the alphabet. Sounds simple, right? But how do you crack it when you don't even know what the symbols mean? Holmes begins with what he calls the alphabet of the figures. He collects as many instances of the dancing men as possible, looking for repetitions, for commonalities. And here's the absolute genius of his method: he applies a fundamental principle of cryptography, frequency analysis. Think about it. In the English language, certain letters appear far more frequently than others. The letter E is the undisputed champion, followed by T, A, O, I, N, S, H, and R. Holmes starts to notice that one particular dancing figure, a figure with a flag held high, appears far more often than any other. Ah, he must have thought, a glint in his eye, the flag bearer is R.E. Once he has his E, he starts looking for short words, especially three-letter words that end in E, like the. He searches for patterns in the sequences of the dancing men that correspond to these common words. He then looks for single figures that stand alone, often representing a or I. It's a painstaking process of trial and error, cross-referencing, and building on tiny fragments of certainty. He uses the context, the frequency, and his encyclopedic knowledge of language to chip away at the code. Slowly but surely, the jumbled, seemingly nonsensical figure. Point 2. The growing tension of the Cubitt family in Norfolk. But this isn't just an academic exercise in code breaking. It's a story of a marriage under siege, and the growing, suffocating tension within the quiet confines of Rydlingthorpe Manor. Hilton Cubitt is a man deeply in love with his wife, Elsie. He describes her as having a good deal of character, I can tell you, and it's clear he adores her. However, their union is built upon a fragile foundation, Elsie's insistence that he never ask about her past in America. A promise he made, and a promise he honors, even as it clearly causes him immense pain and confusion. The first appearance of the dancing men is just unsettling. Elsie sees them, gasps, and faints. Imagine the scene, a peaceful English country home, suddenly invaded by these strange, silent harbingers of fear. Hilton, bewildered, tries to comfort his wife, but she offers no explanation, only renewed pleas for secrecy. As more messages appear, on the sundial, on the garden path, chalked on the door, the tension ratchets up significantly. Elsie's fear escalates from terror to a constant state of anxiety. She grows pale, loses her appetite, and jumps at every shadow. Hilton, despite his promise, is increasingly desperate for answers. He tries to shield her, to protect her, but he's fighting an unseen enemy, a ghost from her past that he can't even name. The messages aren't just random symbols, they're clearly directed at Elsie. They're not just puzzles, they're threats, provocations. This isn't just a distant memory, it's an active, encroaching menace. The peaceful, idyllic life they built together in Norfolk is being slowly, methodically poisoned by this unspoken secret. We also learn that Elsie has seen a man in the village, an American. A man who corresponds with the messages. The vague fear starts to solidify into something more tangible, more human, and infinitely more dangerous. The image of the peaceful Norfolk countryside, contrasted with Elsie's increasing panic and Hilton's mounting frustration and despair, creates a truly potent sense of impending doom. It's a classic Arthur Conan Doyle touch, the placid setting made terrifying by the intrusion of something profoundly sinister. Point 3. The American connection and the gangster element, and what is this sinister intrusion? This is where The Dancing Men introduces a thrilling, almost pulp fiction, element into the staid world of Victorian England, the American gangster. Elsie Cubitt, we discover, is not merely from America, she is Elsie Patrick, the daughter of a notorious, ruthless gangster boss in Chicago. A man of immense power and violence. She had attempted to escape this life, to forge a new, honest existence in England, far from the shadows of her past. Her marriage to Hilton Cubitt was her sanctuary, her fresh start. But one cannot easily escape such a past. The man who is sending these messages, the man she saw in the village, is Abe Slaney. He's not just a former acquaintance, he's a dangerous enforcer, a member of her father's gang, and, chillingly, Elsie's former suitor. He believes he has a claim on her, that she belongs to him. Slaney's arrival in England isn't a coincidence, it's a relentless, vengeful pursuit. He has tracked Elsie across the Atlantic, determined to either drag her back into his world or, perhaps, to destroy her peaceful life with Hilton. The dancing men aren't just a code, they're Slaney's taunts, his veiled threats, his way of signaling his presence and reminding Elsie of the life she tried so desperately to leave behind. Holmes quickly deduces the American connection, even before the full story of Elsie's past is known. The peculiar dialect of the messages, the intensity of Elsie's reaction, the foreignness of the threat, it all points to something beyond a typical English criminal. The clash of worlds here is palpable, the quiet, honorable world of Hilton Cubitt, rooted in the English gentry, against the brutal, lawless underworld of Chicago. This gangster element elevates the story beyond a simple domestic drama. It injects a sense of real, tangible danger, a brutal force of nature that has followed Elsie all the way to her new home. It makes the stakes incredibly high, and it makes Holmes's race against time all the more urgent and critical. This isn't a mystery about a stolen jewel or a clever con, it's about a life, a marriage, being threatened by a past that refuses to stay buried. Point 4. Holmes's regret at not solving the case in time to save the client, and this, my friends, brings us to the most poignant and, for me, the most memorable aspect of The Dancing Men, Sherlock Holmes's profound regret. As Holmes deciphers the final, most chilling message, at Elridge's Slaney is here. Danger. He understands the gravity of the situation. He knows that Slaney is not merely lurking, he is now directly threatening Elsie, and by extension, Hilton. With a frantic urgency rarely seen in the usually composed detective, Holmes boards the next train to Norfolk, desperate to intervene, to prevent what he instinctively knows is coming. But he is too late. Upon their arrival at Ridlingthorpe Manor, they are met with a scene of utter devastation. Hilton Cubitt lies dead, shot through the head. Elsie is found wounded, unconscious, with a revolver clutched in her hand, suggesting a murder-suicide or an attempt. The initial assumption, even by the local police, is that Elsie, driven to desperation by the threats or by confronting her husband, has killed him and then tried to end her own life. But Holmes, despite the emotional weight of the tragedy, immediately begins his meticulous examination. He notices the details: 2 bullets fired, but 3 spent cartridges in the gun. The direction of the shots. The open window. The absence of a bullet wound on Elsie that would match a self-inflicted shot at that angle. He quickly reconstructs the true sequence of events. Slaney, ambushing them, shot Hilton Cubitt in a confrontation, then shot Elsie, hoping to frame her for the murder, before making his escape. It's a brilliant piece of on-the-spot forensic deduction, clearing Elsie's name and identifying the true killer. Holmes then, with characteristic cunning, uses the very cipher that brought him to Norfolk to lure Slaney back. He crafts a message in the Dancing Men code: "Come here at once," knowing Slaney will believe it's from Elsie. The trap is sprung, and Slaney is captured. Justice is served. Yet, despite the resolution, despite bringing the killer to justice, Holmes is visibly, profoundly shaken. He is uncharacteristically quiet, his face etched with a rare anguish. He confesses to Watson, "I have been guilty of some negligence, Watson." It is a confession which I am never fond of making. Had I but been a little more rapid in my conclusions, a little more confident in my deductions, Hilton Cubitt might still be alive. This is a powerful, almost shocking moment for those familiar with Holmes. We're used to his detached intellectualism, his almost machine-like efficiency. But here, we see the human cost of his methods, the immense burden of responsibility he carries. He doesn't just solve puzzles, he saves lives. And when he fails, even by a hair's breadth, the failure weighs heavily upon him. It's a stark reminder that even the greatest detective in the world cannot always outrun the relentless march of fate, nor can he solve every case without loss. His regret humanizes him in a way few other stories do, adding layers of depth to his character that go far beyond the mere logical intellect. The Dancing Men is a remarkable story for so many reasons. It showcases Holmes's unparalleled brilliance in cryptography, turning seemingly childish drawings into a key that unlocks a dark secret. It paints a vivid picture of escalating dread within a loving marriage. It brings the gritty, violent world of American gangsters into the quiet English countryside. And perhaps most importantly, it offers us a rare, poignant glimpse into the soul of Sherlock Holmes, revealing his compassion and the profound weight of his failures, however slight. It's a bittersweet victory, a case solved but a life tragically lost, leaving a lasting impression on both the reader and, it seems, on Holmes himself. It's a reminder that not all mysteries can be unraveled in time, and that some shadows from the past are simply too dark to escape. Next time, we'll continue our journey through the Return of Sherlock Holmes, exploring another facet. Chapter 4, The Solitary Cyclist and the Stalker. Alright, my dear listeners, my fellow armchair detectives, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with me as we continue our deep dive into the magnificent tapestry that is the Return of Sherlock Holmes. We've journeyed through some intriguing cases already, witnessed Holmes's triumphant return, and now, we're about to pedal our way into a tale that, while perhaps not featuring the grandest criminal mastermind, delves into something far more insidious, more personal, and perhaps, more heartbreakingly common, the slow, creeping dread of harassment, and the brutal weaponization of love, or rather, the twisted mockery of it, for the sake of inheritance. Today, we're unlocking Chapter 4, The Solitary Cyclist and the Stalker. This is a story that truly gets under your skin, a poignant illustration of vulnerability, manipulation, and the quiet heroism required to stand against it. It's a case centered around a young, talented music teacher, Miss Violet Smith, and the terrifying shadow that seems to follow her, a mystery cyclist whose intentions are anything but benign. We're stepping onto lonely country roads, into the heart of Victorian societal pressures, and into a surprisingly physical confrontation led by our very own consulting detective. So, lean back, perhaps pour yourself a cup of Earl Grey, or whatever your preferred beverage for contemplation might be, and let's explore this disquieting narrative. Our story opens, as many good Holmes tales do, with a visitor to Baker Street. But this isn't a hardened gentleman of finance or a frantic foreign dignitary. Instead, it's Miss Violet Smith, a young woman described with delicate strokes by Conan Doyle, graceful, elegant, and deeply, palpably disturbed. And what brings her to the fabled address of 221B Baker Street? A chilling, persistent fear that has slowly begun to unravel her peace of mind. Imagine, if you will, the English countryside in the late 19th century. Far removed from the bustling, gas-lit chaos of London, these are places of quiet beauty, of winding lanes flanked by ancient hedgerows, dotted with sleepy villages and isolated estates. It sounds idyllic, doesn't it? A balm for the soul. But for a solitary young woman, these very qualities, the isolation, the quiet, the lack of immediate witnesses, transform them into corridors of profound vulnerability. Miss Smith is a music teacher, a profession that, while respectable, offers a precarious existence for an unattached woman of her era. She has, however, found employment that seems almost too good to be true, a position as a governess and music instructor to the young daughter of a Mr. Williamson, who lives at Chiltern Grange. The pay is excellent, generously so, but the conditions are a little peculiar. She is isolated, almost sequestered, seeing little of the outside world beyond her daily commute. And this commute, my friends, is where her nightmare truly takes root. Miss Smith is an avid cyclist, a pursuit that, while gaining popularity, was still somewhat novel, particularly for women. Each day, she cycles a route of several miles between the station at Farnham and Chiltern Grange. It's a journey she initially enjoys, the fresh air, the rhythmic churn of the pedals. But then, a shadow falls across her path. For several weeks, she's observed it, another cyclist. Always behind her, never quite catching up, never getting close enough for her to get a good look, yet always there. A presence. A silent, persistent tale. Can you feel the prickle of that sensation? That unsettling awareness that you are being watched, followed, observed, and you have no idea why, or what the watcher intends. It's not a sudden, violent threat, but a slow erosion of safety, a creeping dread that contaminates every beautiful country lane, turning tranquil passages into menacing tunnels. She tries to vary her speed, to stop, to let the mysterious figure pass, but it never does. It mirrors her pace, maintains its distance, a phantom on wheels. When she recounts this to Holmes, her voice trembles, and her eyes, as Chapter 5, The Priory School and the Tracks of Greed. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're joining me again on this deep dive into the extraordinary mind of Sherlock Holmes. We've been journeying through the Return of Sherlock Holmes, a collection that, for many of us, felt like a homecoming after the devastating loss at Reichenbach Falls. And what a return it's been. Each story is a master class, isn't it? But today, we're stepping into a narrative that truly showcases Holmes at his most elemental, his most observant, a case where the very ground beneath our feet becomes a tapestry of clues. So, lean in close, perhaps grab a warm drink, as we embark on Chapter 5 of our journey, the Priory School and the Tracks of Greed. Now, this story, The Adventure of the Priory School, is a prime example of why we adore Holmes. It's not just about the grand deductions or the dramatic confrontations, it's about the microscopic details, the things 99.9% of us would walk straight past without a second glance. It's about Holmes making the invisible, visible. The scene is set in the wild, often bleak, but undeniably beautiful landscape of the North Country. We're introduced to the Priory School, an establishment of impeccable reputation, catering exclusively to the sons of England's elite. Imagine the grand stone buildings, the manicured lawns, the air thick with academic aspiration and, let's be honest, a certain sense of privilege. This is a world of order, of strict routine, a place where disruptions are rare and profoundly unwelcome. And then, the unthinkable happens. Lord Salder, the 10-year-old son of none other than the Duke of Holderness, a man whose ancestral line stretches back further than many nation-states, simply vanishes. Poof. Gone. Along with him, rather suspiciously, disappears the German master, Herr Heidegger. The school is thrown into a panic. The headmaster, Dr. Thornycroft Huxtable, a man described with a wonderful blend of academic pomposity and genuine distress, makes a desperate dash to Baker Street, practically collapsing onto Holmes's Persian rug, his tale a frantic jumble of facts and fears. Holmes, ever the calm in the storm, takes it all in. And what does he do? He goes to the scene, of course. Because for Holmes, the physical environment is everything. The ground itself, the earth, the grass, the mud, these are silent witnesses, etched with stories waiting to be read. And this brings us to one of the most iconic and illustrative displays of Holmes's genius, his meticulous study of bicycle tire impressions on the moor. Picture it, a vast, open expanse, dotted with heather and gorse, often damp, sometimes boggy. The perfect canvas for imprinting secrets. Holmes, with his deer stalker perhaps pulled low, his intense gaze fixed on the ground, doesn't just see a bicycle track. He sees a narrative. He sees the distinct impression of a Dunlop tire. Not just a Dunlop tire, mind you, but this specific Dunlop tire. He notes the subtle differences from a Palmer tire, perhaps a slightly different tread pattern, a specific wear mark. He measures the width, the depth, and from these seemingly insignificant details, he begins to paint a picture. He notes the single track initially. One bicycle. But then, as he follows it, his mind begins to churn. Why is the track so deep in some places, so light in others? It speaks of varying weight, varying speed. He deduces, with that terrifying certainty we've come to expect, that a heavy man was pushing the bicycle for a time, then riding it, sometimes with a passenger, sometimes alone. It's like reading a diary written in dirt. But the real kicker, the detail that truly sets Holmes apart, emerges later. After following this primary track, he discovers another bicycle track. And this second track, my friends, is unlike anything he's ever seen. It possesses a peculiar, star-shaped impression, a unique deformity in the tire. This isn't just a detail, it's a fingerprint, a signature left by a very specific, modified bicycle. This small star-shaped indentation is a clue that practically screams for a one detail: the study of bicycle tire impressions on the moor. This is covered extensively, including the unique star-shaped impression and Holmes's deductions about weight and speed. To narrate the discovery of the German master's body, the finding of Herr Heidegger's body and its implications are detailed. 3. Examine the cold, aristocratic nature of the Duke and his family secrets, the Duke of Holderness's character, his strained family life, and the revelation of Miss Trixie, the illegitimate daughter, and the role of James Wilder are all discussed. 4. Highlight the moment Holmes demands his massive check for £6,000. This climactic moment is described, including the significance of the amount and the Duke's reaction. The tone is natural, conversational, and fits the audiobook narrator with personal insights style. It aims to be engaging and suitable for a YouTube audience. Chapter 6, Black Peter and the Harpoon. Hello, my dear listeners, and welcome back to our journey through the brilliant, often bewildering, mind of Sherlock Holmes. If you've been with us, you know we've navigated some intricate paths and stood witness to some truly remarkable deductions since Holmes's miraculous return. But today, we plunge headfirst into a case that is, without a doubt, one of the most viscerally shocking, one of the most uniquely brutal, and one that truly underscores the extraordinary range of challenges our detective faced in his resurrected career. This is a story that drips with the cold brine of the sea, echoes with the fierce cries of a long-past hunt, and is stained with blood in a way that few others are. So, lean in close, perhaps dim the lights a little. Because this is Chapter 6, Black Peter and the Harpoon. The year is 1903. The setting, a deceptively tranquil corner of the English coastline, near the quiet hamlet of Forest Row in Sussex. A place where, you'd imagine, the most dramatic event would be a particularly aggressive seagull or a misplaced fishing net. But not this time. Oh, no. This time, the peace was shattered by a scream, a discovery, and a scene that would haunt the memories of all who witnessed it. Our story opens, as many of these do, with a frantic call to Baker Street. The police, you see, were utterly stumped. And when the official channels hit a wall, when the conventional methods simply couldn't comprehend the horror laid before them, that's when Sherlock Holmes became not just an option, but an absolute necessity. Imagine, if you will, the small, isolated cottage of Peter Carey, a man known locally as Black Peter. And let me tell you, that moniker wasn't given lightly. Carey was a retired whaling captain, a man whose very presence exuded a lifetime spent battling the ferocious elements of the Arctic seas and, by all accounts, an equally ferocious temper on land. He was a brute of a man, renowned for his immense physical strength, his booming voice, and a reputation for being as cruel as he was capable. He lived alone, a recluse, his only companions the ghosts of his past and, perhaps, the bottle. His cottage, nestled on the edge of a small copse overlooking the sea, was a reflection of the man himself, rough, unkempt, filled with the peculiar bric-a-brac of a seafaring life. It was in this cottage, specifically in the very heart of his rough-hewn timber cabin, that the unthinkable occurred. The scene that greeted the local constable, and later Dr. Watson and Holmes, was one of such profound barbarity that it's difficult to even articulate without a shiver. Peter Carey was dead. And not just dead, he was pinned to the wall like a grotesque specimen in some macabre museum. The weapon? A harpoon. Not a small one, mind you, not a dinky, decorative trinket. This was a proper whaling harpoon. Its barbed, cruel head had been driven with unthinkable force straight through the chest of Peter Carey, piercing him clean through and embedding itself deep into the wooden wall behind him. The sheer, overwhelming power required to accomplish such a feat was mind-boggling. It spoke volumes about the assailant. This wasn't a crime of stealth or cunning, but one of raw, unadulterated strength and a terrifying, cold-blooded efficiency. The cabin itself was a tableau of violent struggle. Furniture overturned, a table smashed, a chair splintered. There was blood, of course, a great deal of it, splattered across the rough wooden floorboards, drying to a ghastly brown. But more than the blood, more than the disarray, it was the harpoon itself that dominated the scene. It stood erect, quivering slightly with the vibrations of the wind against the cottage, a terrifying monument to a brutal end. Dr. Watson, ever the physician, observed the nature of the wound, the trajectory of the strike. It was clear this was no random act of violence, but a deliberate, powerful, and deeply personal execution. You know, when I read this particular chapter, I'm always struck by the almost anachronistic nature of the weapon. A harpoon in Chapter 7, Charles Augustus Milverton and the Moral Law. Welcome back, everyone, to our deep dive into the Return of Sherlock Holmes. We've journeyed through the triumph of the empty house, the chilling mysteries of the Norwood builder and the dancing men, but today, we arrive at a chapter that, for me, stands apart. It's a story that doesn't just challenge Holmes's intellect, but his very moral compass, and by extension, ours. We're talking about the adventure of Charles Augustus Milverton. Now, if you've been following along, you know Holmes has faced some truly despicable villains. Moriarty, of course, the Napoleon of crime, a towering intellect devoted to evil. There have been murderers, thieves, blackmailers of all stripes. But none, I would argue, none have evoked the sheer, visceral disgust in Sherlock Holmes, and indeed, in me, quite like Charles Augustus Milverton. Imagine a villain whose weapon isn't a gun, or a knife, or even a cunning plot of theft. No, Milverton's arsenal is far more insidious. He trades in secrets. He trades in shame. He is, as Holmes so aptly puts it, the king of blackmailers. And what makes him so utterly loathsome is not just what he does, but how he does it. He doesn't just want money, he wants control. He revels in the destruction of reputation, the shattering of lives, the exquisite torment of his victims. He's a parasite, feasting on the vulnerabilities of others, especially women of high standing. Arthur Conan Doyle paints a picture of Milverton that is truly grotesque. He's described as having a cat-like, cruel, and cunning face, eyes that swam with a sinister satisfaction. He's a man who looks outwardly respectable, even mild-mannered, a connoisseur of art, yet beneath that veneer lies a heart colder and more calculating than any common criminal. He doesn't use brute force, he uses psychological terror. He doesn't just threaten, he slowly, meticulously dismantles a person's life, piece by painful piece. He is a spider in the center of a vast, intricate web of human weakness, and he thrives on the agony of those caught within it. When I read his descriptions, I always felt a physical recoil, a deeper sense of revulsion than even the most cold-blooded murderer might inspire. Because while a murderer takes a life, Milverton takes everything but life, leaving a hollowed-out shell. He's the ultimate social predator, and Holmes knows it. The case that brings Milverton to Holmes's doorstep involves a society lady, Lady Eva Blackwell, whose letters, written in a moment of youthful indiscretion, have fallen into Milverton's hands. He demands a colossal sum for their return, threatening to expose her and ruin her upcoming marriage. Holmes, usually cool and detached, takes this case with a rare passion. He understands the profound damage Milverton inflicts, and he sees this man not just as a criminal to be apprehended, but as a plague to be eradicated. Now, Holmes being Holmes, he can't just pay the ransom. That would only empower Milverton further. So, he devises a plan that is audacious, dangerous, and utterly, uncharacteristically illegal. Our brilliant detective, the champion of law and order, decides he must break the law to achieve justice. He will infiltrate Milverton's heavily guarded home and steal back the incriminating letters. To do this, Holmes doesn't just come up with a disguise, he becomes someone else. he transforms into a rough, working-class plumber named Escott, a character he embodies so completely that even Watson is momentarily fooled. He spends weeks ingratiating himself with Milverton's housemaid, Agnes, feigning affection, and even proposing marriage, all to gain access to the house's layout and security arrangements. It's a morally dubious tactic in itself, a testament to the lengths Holmes is willing to go to in this particular pursuit. It shows us how deeply Milverton has gotten under his skin, pushing him into territory he rarely treads. The night of the planned heist arrives, and what follows is one of the most tense and thrilling break-ins in the entire Holmes canon. Watson, ever the faithful companion. Chapter 8, The Six Napoleons and the Psychology of Obsession. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you're here with me today as we dive deeper into the incredible mind of Sherlock Holmes. If you've been following along, you know we're exploring the return of Sherlock Holmes, and what a return it is. Each case feels like stepping into a new, beautifully constructed puzzle box. Today, we're tackling a particularly peculiar one, a case that's less about a grand conspiracy and more about a singular, almost comical, yet ultimately deadly obsession. We're talking about the Six Napoleons, and trust me, it's not what you think. This chapter, Chapter 8, is titled The Six Napoleons and the Psychology of Obsession. And that second part, The Psychology of Obsession, is really what I want us to chew on today, because it's a theme that runs so powerfully through this seemingly bizarre little mystery. Our goal? To unravel a strange saga of smashed busts of Napoleon, and discover how it all leads to a hidden treasure, a gem of almost mythical proportions. Now, imagine this: you're reading the morning papers, sipping your tea, and you see a headline about a series of increasingly strange acts of vandalism across London. Not bank robberies, not political assassinations, but smashed plaster busts of Napoleon Bonaparte. I mean, come on, that's not your everyday crime, is it? The story begins in a relatively innocuous way. The first incident takes place in the shop of a humble art dealer named Morse Hudson, on Kennington Road. Someone breaks in, but nothing is stolen. No cash, no valuable paintings, no antique silverware. Instead, they find a cheap, mass-produced plaster bust of Napoleon lying in pieces on the floor, shattered beyond recognition. A strange, seemingly pointless act of destruction. Then, just a few days later, another bust of Napoleon, identical in appearance, is found smashed to bits outside the home and office of a Dr. Barnicot, in the rather more affluent area of Kensington. But here's where it gets chilling: Dr. Barnicot had actually purchased two of these busts. One was in his surgery, the other in his hall. The one in the hall was the victim. The one in the surgery remained untouched. It starts to feel less like random hooliganism and more like a targeted search. But a search for what? And why Napoleon? Are we dealing with some deranged anti-Bonapartist? Some historical revisionist with a hammer? It's absurd, truly. Inspector Lestrade, bless his persistent soul, is naturally baffled. He sees a series of isolated incidents, perhaps the work of a lunatic with an axe to grind against the Emperor of the French. He brings the case to Holmes, probably expecting some profound insight into the mind of a historical vandal. But Holmes, as always, sees deeper. He doesn't dismiss the absurdity, he embraces it as a clue. He starts to connect these seemingly disparate dots, not by focusing on who did it, but what they were doing, and more importantly, what they were looking for. Holmes, with his characteristic disregard for the obvious, immediately dismisses the idea of political motivation. It's too specific, too niche, too odd for mere vandalism. He begins to inquire about the busts themselves. Where did they come from? Were they unique? As it turns out, these were all part of a batch of 6 identical plaster casts, produced by an Italian artisan named Pietro Venucci. This detail, seemingly trivial, is the linchpin. 6 identical busts, spread across different parts of London. This isn't about destroying any Napoleon, it's about destroying these specific Napoleons. This is where Holmes's genius truly shines. He realizes that the smashing isn't the crime itself, but rather a violent act of searching. The vandal isn't destroying for destruction's sake, they're looking for something hidden inside one of these busts. And what could be so valuable, so critical, that someone would risk prison for such a destructive, public search? The answer, my friends, is one of the most famous, and infamous, gems in all of literature, the Black Pearl of the Borgias. Now, let's read. Chapter 9, The 3 Students and the Academic Scandal. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been with us on this journey through the Return of Sherlock Holmes, you know we've traversed some pretty dark and dangerous paths. From the sinister machinations of Colonel Moran in the empty house to the chilling depths of human greed and revenge in the Priory School, or the poignant tragedy of Charles Augustus Milverton, we've seen the very worst of London's underbelly and the hidden corners of the English countryside. But today, I want us to take a breath. I want us to step away from the shadows, at least for a little while, and wander into a different kind of world. A world of ancient stone, hallowed halls, whispered ambition, and perhaps a slightly less deadly, but no less intriguing, mystery. We're diving into what I affectionately call one of Holmes's lighter cases, a university-based puzzle, fraught with academic scandal rather than murder most foul. This is Chapter 9, The 3 Students and the Academic Scandal. Imagine, if you will, a quintessential English university town. Think Oxford, think Cambridge. Picture those magnificent, ivy-clad colleges, their grey stones softened by centuries of weather and wisdom. Cobblestone streets echo with the footsteps of scholars past and present. The air is thick with the scent of old parchment, fresh-cut lawns, and that peculiar, indefinable aroma of ambition and intellectual pursuit. Libraries, with their towering shelves, seem to hum with the collective knowledge of humanity, and cloisters offer quiet contemplation, a stark contrast to the cutthroat competition that often bubbles beneath the surface of such esteemed institutions. It's within this world, this sanctuary of learning and quiet dignity, that our story begins. Specifically, we find ourselves in the rooms of Professor Hilton Soames, a lecturer and tutor at one of these venerable institutions in the original story. It's Corpus Christi College, a name that perfectly conjures the weight of history. Now, Professor Soames is not your typical high-octane academic. He's a man of meticulous routine, of quiet scholarship, whose days are usually spent in the serene pursuit of knowledge, guiding bright young minds, and occasionally fretting over the finer points of ancient Greek texts. But tonight, he is anything but serene. He is a man utterly undone, on the verge of a nervous breakdown, his world tilted completely off its axis. When Holmes and Watson arrive, they find him pacing, wringing his hands, his face pale and drawn. The very picture of intellectual distress. His study, usually a bastion of order, now feels charged with an invisible tension. The source of his agony? The most sacrosanct of academic items, examination papers. For a highly coveted scholarship in Greek translation, no less. These weren't just any papers, they were the future determining documents for 3 brilliant, ambitious students. And Professor Soames had found them disturbed, rifled through, copied. The very integrity of the examination, the honor of the college, and his own reputation, all hung by a thread. This, for a man like Soames, was a catastrophe of the highest order. Now, this is where it gets really interesting for us, the armchair detectives. Because what follows is a classic example of Holmes's brilliance, his ability to paint a vivid picture of events and even character from the most seemingly insignificant details. Watson, bless his heart, often sees nothing but chaos. Soames sees only disaster. Holmes, however, sees a story unfolding in plain sight. He moves through the professor's study with that familiar, almost feline grace, his eyes missing nothing. And what does he find? Let's break down these critical clues, because they are truly masterpieces of observational deduction. First, on the professor's desk, near where the exam papers had been laid out, were pencil shavings. Not just any shavings, mind you. These were fresh, still curling delicately, the fine residue of a newly sharpened lead. And not just 1 or 2, but a small pile. Now, think about that for Chapter 10, The Golden Pince-Nez and the Unseen Witness. Alright, welcome back, my fellow enthusiasts of deduction and mystery. We're diving deep into the Return of Sherlock Holmes once more, and today, we're landing squarely on Chapter 10, The Golden Pince-Nez. Now, if you're like me, you've probably encountered countless detective stories where the smallest, most seemingly insignificant detail becomes the linchpin of the entire investigation. But few manage to make a pair of dropped eyeglasses quite so central, quite so utterly pivotal, as Arthur Conan Doyle does here. This, truly, is a murder investigation that hinges entirely on a pair of dropped eyeglasses. And honestly, it's nothing short of brilliant. Imagine the scene: a quiet English country house, a study, a young tutor, Willoughby Smith, found dead. The initial suspects, Professor Coram, the master of the house, and the housemaid, appear to have robust alibis, or at least motives that aren't immediately clear. But then, there it is, lying conspicuously beside the deceased, a pair of golden pince-nez. This isn't a smoking gun, not a bloody knife, but for Holmes, it's something infinitely more valuable, a piece of pure, unadulterated information, a silent witness in itself. And this, my friends, is where Holmes, with his characteristic genius, transforms an everyday object into the very key that unlocks the entire mystery. He doesn't just see glasses, he perceives a narrative, a detailed biography etched into their very form. He picks them up, turning them over in his long, lean fingers, and begins to paint a vivid, almost uncanny, portrait of their owner without ever having met them. He starts with the material, golden, a subtle hint, suggesting not just affluence but perhaps a touch of refined taste, a certain societal standing. But his gaze quickly moves beyond the superficial to the functional core, the lenses. Very thick at the center, and therefore, an extremely short-sighted person. Now, let's pause on that for a moment. He doesn't just deduce short-sighted, he emphasizes extremely so. This isn't a minor visual correction, this is a significant impairment, a person who, without these, would navigate the world in a blur, utterly dependent on them. This detail alone is profound. It immediately tells Holmes that whoever lost these would be almost completely helpless without them, a crucial point in understanding their actions. Then, his attention shifts to the subtle wear and tear, the imprints left on the object by its intimate relationship with its wearer. He scrutinizes the nose pads. This, I think, is a stroke of pure Holmesian brilliance. He observes a slight, yet distinct, indentation, a faint mark that indicates they were worn not just occasionally, but for extended, habitual periods. And the asymmetry. One pad, he notes, is slightly more worn, more compressed, than the other. What does this tell him? A person with a rather sharp, possibly prominent, or pinched, nose bridge, indicating a unique physiognomy. And the very nature of a pince-nez, rather than the more stable spectacles with ear arms, suggests a certain delicate balance required for wear, perhaps implying a fastidiousness or a person who found conventional frames uncomfortable or unfashionable for their time. Pince-nez often require a particular kind of facial structure to stay securely in place, demanding a particular physical interaction from the wearer. But he goes further still, weaving these observations into a coherent whole. The degree of wear and tear, the subtle scratches on the frame, they indicate these are not new glasses, not a recently acquired accessory. They've been used, cherished even, by someone who relies heavily on them, someone whose daily life is profoundly intertwined with their function. And the critical fact that they were dropped at the scene, not carefully placed or deliberately lost, screams of a sudden, violent movement, a moment of acute shock or struggle. Combine this with the extreme myopia, and suddenly, we're not just looking at a piece of metal and glass, we're looking at the ghost of a person. Chapter 11, The Abbey Grange and the Crime of Passion. Hello, and welcome back to the channel, my friends. It's so good to have you joining me again as we delve deeper into the intricate tapestry that is the Return of Sherlock Holmes. We've journeyed through dark houses, perplexing codes, and the shadowy depths of the human psyche. But today, we're going to step into a case that, for me, stands out not just for its clever deductions, but for the profound moral ambiguity it presents. It's a story that forces us to question the very nature of justice, compassion, and what happens when the law, in its rigid framework, clashes head-on with the raw, brutal realities of human suffering. We're talking about the adventure of the Abbey Grange, or as I've always thought of it, the crime of passion, a domestic tragedy where Holmes, the great logical engine, reveals a surprising, deeply human side, showing sympathy for a killer. Now, isn't that a fascinating premise for the world's greatest detective? So, settle in, perhaps with a warm drink. Let's peel back the layers of this extraordinary chapter, Chapter 11. Imagine, if you will, the biting chill of a winter's morning in the English countryside. The year is 1897, and the peace of Kent is shattered by a frantic telegram from Inspector Hopkins, a familiar face, always eager for Holmes's assistance, yet perpetually a step behind. The message is stark: a brutal murder at Abbey Grange, the ancestral home of Sir Eustace Brackenstall. Holmes, with his characteristic alacrity, pulls Watson from his breakfast and off they go, hurtling towards a scene that will challenge every preconceived notion of crime and justice. Upon arrival, the scene at Abbey Grange is exactly what you might expect from a violent home invasion, yet something immediately feels off. The stately home, with its ancient stone and brooding atmosphere, seems to hold its breath. And there, in the dining room, lies the grim tableau. Sir Eustace Brackenstall, the master of the house, is dead. He's sprawled lifelessly on the floor, a heavy poker from the fireplace having delivered the fatal blow. His head is horribly crushed, a gruesome testament to the ferocity of the attack. Around him, the room is a mess, chairs overturned, bottles shattered, a chaotic scene clearly designed to suggest a struggle. It screams robbery gone wrong. But then, our gaze shifts to Lady Brackenstall, the victim's wife. She's found in a truly pitiable state, tied to the bell rope, which has been torn from the ceiling. She's distraught, her eyes wide with terror, her face bruised. Her account is harrowing. 3 burglars, the infamous Randall gang, notorious for their ruthlessness, broke in, murdered her husband, and then, after ransacking the place, tied her up and fled with valuable plate. Her story is delivered with such conviction, such raw emotion, that it would convince almost anyone. Indeed, Inspector Hopkins is already half convinced, ready to launch a manhunt for these notorious criminals. And this, my friends, is where the brilliant mind of Sherlock Holmes truly shines, diverging from the path of conventional thought. While Hopkins sees a clear narrative of a violent gang, Holmes sees discrepancies, whispers of a truth far more complex, hidden beneath the surface of this carefully constructed scene. He doesn't just look at what's there, he looks at what isn't there, and what doesn't quite fit. Holmes, with that intense gaze of his, begins to meticulously examine the scene, his eyes missing nothing. His initial skepticism, a cornerstone of his method, immediately pings on a few seemingly innocuous details. And it's these tiny, almost invisible threads that he begins to pull, slowly, deliberately, unraveling Lady Brackenstall's seemingly ironclad narrative. First, the wine glasses. Lady Brackenstall claims she was forced to drink brandy by the 3 intruders before she was tied up. A detail that seems almost superfluous, designed perhaps to emphasize her ordeal. But Holmes, ever the observer, notices something critical. There are 2 glasses on the table. One is completely empty, th. Chapter 12, The Second Stain and the Diplomatic Crisis. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to our journey into the brilliant, often bewildering, world of Sherlock Holmes. As we turn the page, or rather, press play, on this 12th and final chapter of the Return of Sherlock Holmes, we're not just closing a book, we're witnessing an epical moment. This isn't just any case. No, this is one of those rare instances where the stakes transcend the personal, the criminal, even the national. Here, the very peace of Europe hangs in the balance. Imagine, if you will, the early 20th century. A continent teetering on a precipice, a complex web of alliances and rivalries, ready to ignite at the slightest spark. Diplomacy was a delicate dance, and a single misstep could plunge millions into unimaginable conflict. This is the volatile backdrop against which The Second Stain unfolds, a title that, in its subtle way, hints at the layers of deception and the profound consequences of a seemingly isolated incident. Arthur Conan Doyle, with his masterful storytelling, understood the political tensions of his era, and he channels them brilliantly into this thrilling conclusion to the return. Our story opens in the hallowed, hushed chambers of Whitehall, specifically in the office of the Right Honourable Trelawney Hope, a man whose name practically screams aristocratic privilege and profound responsibility. He is nothing less than the Secretary of State for European Affairs, effectively, the Foreign Secretary. This is a man whose daily life is defined by secrets, by the intricate ballet of international relations. And it is precisely into his world that a crisis of unimaginable proportions has just erupted. He arrives at Baker Street, a man utterly undone, accompanied by no less than the Prime Minister himself, Lord Bellinger, and a distinguished colleague. The sight of these figures, pillars of the British establishment, seeking Holmes's aid, immediately tells you everything you need to know about the gravity of the situation. This isn't a petty theft or a domestic dispute. This is something far, far grander. The heart of their distress, the very linchpin of impending disaster, is a stolen letter. But this is no ordinary letter. It's a document, signed by a foreign potentate, containing language so inflammatory, so hostile towards Great Britain, that its exposure would undoubtedly trigger a diplomatic maelstrom, leading directly to war. A war, my friends. Not a skirmish, not a border dispute, but a full-blown European conflict. Imagine the weight of that on one's shoulders. Imagine knowing that the fate of nations rests on a piece of paper, now vanished. The letter had been kept in a dispatch box, locked and secured, within Mr. Trelawney Hope's study at his home in Whitehall Terrace. He had worked on it until late into the night, placed it back, and locked the box. His wife, Lady Hilda, had been with him for a time, then retired. In the morning, the box was still locked, undisturbed. Yet, the letter was gone. Vanished. Holmes's initial investigation reveals a curious detail. 2 foreign agents, known to Scotland Yard, had been active in London around the time of the theft. 1, a man named Eduardo Lucas, was found murdered in his home, stabbed through the heart. The other, Madame Ferney, also a spy, was apprehended attempting to flee the country. The murder of Lucas is perplexing. Was it related to the letter? Was he the thief, or perhaps another victim in a larger game? The scene at Lucas's house is classic Holmesian deduction. The body, the specific wound, the arrangement of the room, all speak volumes to Holmes. He discovers a secret compartment, cleverly hidden, suggesting Lucas was indeed involved in espionage. But the letter isn't there. This leads Holmes to suspect a deeper, more intricate plot. Who killed Lucas, and why? And where is the letter? Holmes, with his usual blend of audacity and shrewd calculation, delves into the lives of everyone connected to the case. He interviews Trelawney Hope, examining his household, his habits, his relationships. And it's here that the narrative 7-day action plan, thinking like a detective. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving headfirst back into the brilliant, baffling world of Sherlock Holmes. If you've been following our journey through the Return of Sherlock Holmes, you know we've explored the enduring appeal of these stories, the masterful plots, and the complex characters. But as fascinating as it is to watch Holmes work his magic from afar, a question often lingers, doesn't it? A question that, for me, personally, has always gnawed at the edges of my curiosity. Can we really apply this stuff? Can I, an ordinary person navigating the complexities of modern life, truly think like a detective? Well, my friends, I'm here to tell you, yes, absolutely, you can. It's not about finding hidden messages in old manuscripts or tracking down master criminals in foggy London streets. It's about cultivating a mindset, a way of approaching the world that can profoundly enhance your problem-solving skills, sharpen your perception, and even improve your relationships. It's about seeing what others miss, connecting the seemingly unconnected, and making sense of the everyday mysteries that constantly unfold around us. That's why, today, we're not just discussing homes, we're doing homes. I've put together a practical, actionable 7-day action plan, a week-long immersion into the very core of Holmesian deduction, tailored specifically for your modern life. This isn't just theory, it's a hands-on guide designed to help you integrate these powerful mental tools into your daily routine. By the end of this week, you won't just appreciate homes more, you'll understand yourself and the world around you with newfound clarity. Each day builds on the last, forging new neural pathways, challenging old habits, and ultimately, transforming how you perceive reality. So, grab a notebook, or perhaps a digital journal, if that's more your speed, and let's embark on this intellectual adventure together. Are you ready to unlock your inner detective? I certainly hope so. Let's begin. Day 1 to 2. Practice the observational walk. Our journey into the mind of a detective begins, quite literally, with our feet on the ground, and our eyes, and indeed, all our senses, wide open. For Day 1 and Day 2, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to practice what I call the observational walk. Think about it. Holmes's power didn't come from some mystical ability. It stemmed from his extraordinary capacity to observe. Most people, myself included for a long time, simply see the world. We glance, we categorize, we dismiss. We walk through our commutes, our neighborhoods, even our own homes, half asleep, our minds preoccupied with to-do lists, anxieties, or the latest social media scroll. But Holmes didn't just see, he observed. He noticed the subtle crease on a sleeve, the particular type of mud on a boot, the faint scent of cigar smoke lingering in the air. These weren't just random details, they were clues, tiny fragments of a larger narrative waiting to be pieced together. In our modern lives, this skill is more crucial than ever. We're bombarded with information, yet often starved of true understanding. We might see a problem at work, a tension in a relationship, or even a subtle shift in our own well-being, but do we truly observe the underlying details? Do we notice the micro-expressions, the repeated phrases, the environmental changes that might reveal the truth? Probably not as often as we should. So, how do we cultivate this observational prowess? It starts simply, by making a conscious effort to engage with your environment. For the next 2 days, I want you to dedicate at least 15 to 30 minutes each day to this exercise. Choose a familiar route, your walk to work, a stroll through a local park, even just a careful journey through your own home. The familiarity is key because it forces you to look beyond the surface. Here's how to approach it. Adopt what I call the microscope mindset. Instead of taking in the whole scene, zoom in. Focus on a single object. A lamppost. A tree. A bench. W. Summary, 3 key takeaways. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We've journeyed through the labyrinthine streets of Victorian London, witnessed the impossible come to life, and even grappled with the shock of a resurrected legend. We've seen Sherlock Holmes, not just return from the precipice of the Reichenbach Falls, but truly return, revitalized, perhaps even a little changed, certainly more aware of his own mortality and the irreplaceable presence of his dear friend. But beyond the thrilling narratives, the clever deductions, and the sheer joy of seeing Holmes back in action, what is the enduring essence of the Return of Sherlock Holmes? What deep currents run beneath the surface of these meticulously crafted tales? Because for me, and I think for many of you who've delved into Doyle's world, these aren't just detective stories. They're philosophical musings, wrapped in a captivating mystery, offering profound insights into human nature, justice, and the very act of living. So, as we bring our exploration of this iconic collection to a close, I want to distill its core philosophy into 3 key takeaways. These are the lessons, the profound observations, that I believe resonate long after the final page is turned, and frankly, continue to shape my own understanding of the world. Let's dive in. Takeaway 1, you see, but you do not observe. This is, perhaps, the most famous Sherlockian mantra, and it's something that Arthur Conan Doyle masterfully reinforces throughout The Return of Sherlock Holmes. It's a foundational principle of Holmes's genius, and it's subtly, yet consistently, woven into every case he tackles. Think about it, we all see. We open our eyes, light hits our retinas, and our brains process shapes, colors, movements. But how often do we truly observe? Holmes doesn't just see a man, he observes the dust on his lapel, the slight fraying of a cuff, the particular brand of mud on his boots, the subtle tremor in his hand, the direction of his gaze. He doesn't just see a room, he observes the specific arrangement of objects, the telltale signs of recent activity, the absence of something that should be there, the way the light falls, the specific type of cigar ash. For him, every detail is a potential clue, a piece of a larger puzzle waiting to be connected. And this isn't just about solving crimes. This is a profound statement about how we navigate the world, about the richness we might be missing in our daily lives. Think about how often we scroll through social media, seeing countless images and headlines, yet truly observing very little. The algorithms often dictate our gaze, but rarely our genuine, critical attention. Or how many times have you walked through a familiar park or even your own home, and only truly seen the general outline of things? But if you observed, if you paused, if you truly looked, with intent and curiosity, you might notice the particular migratory pattern of a bird you've never registered, the subtle change in a plant's growth over weeks, the discarded ticket stub revealing a story, the specific way the light filters through the leaves at a particular time of day, different than yesterday, reflecting a deeper sense of temporality. It's the difference between passive reception and active engagement. Perception, in Holmes's world, isn't just a sensory input, it's an intellectual act, a deliberate choice to seek meaning, to look beyond the surface, to question what's presented and search for what's hidden. It's about recognizing that the world is overflowing with information, and most of us simply let it wash over us. Holmes teaches us to grab a sieve, to sift through the mundane, and discover the extraordinary narratives that lie beneath. From a personal perspective, this lesson from Holmes has fundamentally altered how I approach everything, from writing these scripts to simply having a conversation. I try to listen not just to the words, but to the tone, the unspoken hesitation, the body language. I try to look at a situation not just for what it is, but for what it implies. What CTA, join the Baker Street Irregulars. Tu et voi. Toi rat vui duok gi up ban viet kich ban ne. Du a tren fong catch va muk tu ban de mo ta, de la kich ban cho fan CTA, join the Baker Street Irregulars : And so, my dear friends, our grand expedition through the pages of the Return of Sherlock Holmes concludes. What a magnificent journey it's been, wouldn't you agree? From the sheer shock of Holmes's resurrection in the empty house to the intricate dance of intellect in the adventure of the second stain, we've witnessed the master detective back in his element, sharper, perhaps even more profound, than ever before. It's a testament to Conan Doyle's genius, isn't it? The way he brought his beloved character back from the abyss of Reichenbach Falls, not merely to exist, but to thrive and challenge us once more. As we put this particular volume back on the shelf, filled with the echoes of hansom cabs, the scent of pipe smoke, and the thrilling rush of a deduction perfectly made, I want to talk a little bit about us. Because this isn't just me rambling about books, this is our shared space, our intellectual sanctuary, where minds keen on mystery, logic, and the sheer joy of storytelling can gather. Think of it as our own digital 221B Baker Street, and you, my astute viewers, are the newest recruits to the venerable, slightly chaotic, yet undeniably brilliant Baker Street Irregulars. Now, as true irregulars, we thrive on observation, discussion, and a good old-fashioned debate. So, before you click away, I have a burning question that I'm genuinely eager to hear your thoughts on. Throughout the Return of Sherlock Holmes, we encountered so many twists and turns that could make even the most seasoned detective gasp. Think about the unexpected revelations, the clever misdirections, the moments where you thought you had it all figured out, only for Holmes to pull the rug right out from under you. So, here it is. Which story from the Return of Sherlock Holmes do you believe had the absolute best, most mind-bending, utterly unforgettable plot twist? Was it the brilliant reveal of Colonel Moran's true nature in the empty house? Or the surprisingly human element behind the criminal mastermind in the Norwood Builder? Perhaps it was the intricate web of deceit in the Priory School? Or a more subtle moment that truly resonated with your inner sleuth? Don't be shy. Head down to the comments section right now and tell me your pick. I want to know which twist genuinely caught you off guard, which one made you lean closer to the screen or the page, perhaps even let out an audible gasp. Let's get a lively discussion going. Share your reasoning, compare your theories with your fellow irregulars, and let's celebrate the genius of these narratives together. Your insights are invaluable, and honestly, the comments section is often just as fascinating as the video itself. Thanks to all of you. But hold on, the game is far from over. In fact, the foggiest, most atmospheric, and arguably most iconic adventure of Sherlock Holmes still lies ahead. If you've enjoyed diving into the intricate world of The Return with me, if the thrill of unraveling a complex mystery is truly your cup of tea, or perhaps your favorite brand of pipe tobacco, then you absolutely, positively, must join us for our next grand series. We're about to venture into the desolate, windswept moors of Devonshire, where ancient curses, spectral hounds, and the dark secrets of a troubled family await. Yes, you guessed it. Our next deep dive will be into the chilling, Gothic masterpiece that is The Hound of the Baskervilles. You do not want to miss a single moment of this one. It's a story that perfectly blends suspense, horror, and Holmes's unparalleled intellect, and I guarantee our exploration of it will be as detailed and engaging as ever. To ensure you're right there with us, ready for every chilling clue and every heart-pounding revelation, do me a huge favor, please hit that subscribe button right now. And don't forget to ring the notification bell. That way, you'll be the first to know when our Thank you for listening to this audiobook. If you found value, meaning, or inspiration in this journey, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next chapter. Your support helps us bring more timeless classics to life. See you in the next reading.